Then I get called into Coach Iggy's office and tells me I'm going to Portland. I'm like, all right, like, let's do it, I guess. I mean, like, let's go. And I was going up with Sandlin at the time, which was nice to have somebody to make that 11-hour ride to Somerset for the road series pretty nice.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode to the Show We Go Baseball podcast. Today's episode, we got a good one today. We have a Red Sox pitching prospect. It's good old Southpaw. We got Connelly Early on the show today. A little background about Connelly. He was a 5th-round pick in 2023, pitched last year in Greenville and made it up to Portland to finish the year, where he actually had, like we were just saying off air, had a pretty good year. So Connelly, I always like to kind of start these things off a little on the lighter side. And obviously you're at the complex and you're living with some fantastic roommates, but how have things been treating you at Fort Myers?
Yeah, things have been going great. I'm living with Hayden Mullins, Noah Dean, Matt Duffy, and Blake Wehunt. So we've been kicking it back here, and once we're away from the field, we get into a lot of golf or video games, stuff like that. So we're enjoying it while we have this off season.
Now you're from Virginia, right?
Yes, sir.
Where about in Virginia did you grow up?
I grew up right outside of Richmond, so I'm on the west side of it, over in Midlothian.
Gotcha. I've spent some time in Annandale, and I remember I went down to Richmond for an interview, and I just remember thinking as soon as I got there, it was like I was in a completely different part of the country. It was like you cross the border there into Richmond, and suddenly you're in the South. Is that the general consensus, or was I imagining this?
I mean, Richmond's got its different areas, so I mean, you could go, I don't know, to the north side, west side, whatever it is, and you'll see some different things, like different vibes at different places. So it's always nice going down to the city every once in a while and, checking out a bunch of different things.
Now, Connelly Early, I've never met anybody with a name quite like that before. Is this a family name?
Yes. So Connolly's actually my middle name. So my first name is Todd, which is my dad's first name as well. Yeah. So I've always gone by Connelly my whole life, because I have 3 brothers and all of us go by C names. So it's definitely a mouthful for my mom when she's trying to shuffle between Coleman, Cavill, Connolly, Callum. Like, she's throwing all of them out when she gets angry with us or something like that, or she's trying to get our attention. She ends up just spitting all of them out. So.
Yeah, how old are you? There are 3 of you. Do you have any sisters?
No, it's just me and 3 brothers, so I'm the 3rd one.
Okay. And did they all play baseball also?
So everybody grew up playing baseball. My older 2 brothers didn't play in college, but my younger brother is a freshman at Liberty right now. So he's going through that whole process right now of I think he just finished up the fall World Series that they had, so he's done with the fall and hoping that the spring starts well for him.
Now, is he also a pitcher?
No, he's actually a middle infielder. So he's a lefty bat and righty thrower. So he plays shortstop and second base.
Did you play any other positions when you were in high school before you got drafted?
Yeah, I was an outfielder, more of a corner outfielder. But I was never too great at it. Just kind of enjoyed it in high school and played a little bit in travel ball, but once it got to my junior year, I pretty much just switched for travel ball to being a pitcher.
Gotcha. Now, are your parents both were they both athletes?
So my parents grew up in high school playing a lot of sports, but none of them went to college or anything like that for sports. But my dad went to VMI, and then my mom went to UVA, and they met each other in high school, so they've been together ever since.
Oh wow, that's you don't hear about that as much, I feel like, as you used to. It's always very sweet when you hear about it, though. What do they do for work?
So my dad's a financial advisor for Indian tribes. So he works with a company based out in Arizona. It's called Sovereign Financial Group. So he's traveling a lot to Scottsdale, Arizona, to go to meetings and everything out there. And then my mom's a stay-at-home mom. She had to raise 4 boys, so that's enough of a job in itself. So
Yeah, especially with how much childcare costs. That's
yeah,
that more than pays it for itself.
yeah, 100%.
Now, were you scouted at all in high school? Were you because you went to you pitched in college and everything, but was there a chance you were going to get drafted prior to it, and you ended up going with college?
No, there was no shot. No, back then, yeah, there was no way I was going pro out of high school. I was small, wasn't throwing hard, and I mean, never even really considered playing pro ball at that age. So,
So what happened then? What happened when you got to college?
I mean, once I got to college, so I went to West Point my first 2 years. Um, so I was doing the whole Army thing and
Yeah.
enjoying that, and all the school that goes with it, and then also doing baseball and enjoying that time as well. And then after my sophomore year, when I decided to go into the transfer portal, it kind of hit me like if I'm going to make a decision to leave um, this good of a university, like I gotta get to it and try and make baseball, like trying to make the most of it. So that's kind of when I kind of flipped the switch for it.
So West Point, that's in the Hudson Valley, right? That's in New
Yes, it
York.
is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I grew I mean until I was like 6 I lived out there. It's a really beautiful part of the country.
Yes, it is.
What made you, I guess, what went into the decision for you leaving? Was it entirely was it entirely baseball related?
So there was a lot that went into it. So after my sophomore year, the whole coaching staff left from West Point. So our head coach went to Northwestern, pitching coach went to Davidson, I believe, and then after that he went back to Southeast Missouri where he was before coming to West Point. And I was out actually in summer training at West Point. I was in cadet field training and started talking to my dad. I was like, "Do you think I should maybe consider looking into options?" And he was like, "I mean, if that's what you want to do, like go ahead." He was very very laid back on it, almost like it's up to you. Like if you want to do it, then you got to be ready to do it. But I mean, it's your decision. So I ended up throwing my name in there. Didn't really plan on leaving West Point at all, and then I had a couple schools reach out to me and started talking to them, and one thing led to the next, and I ended up back home at UVA.
Was it I do want to ask about the college thing. Just when you got to UVA, I feel like obviously Virginia being an ACC school, it's it's a very big school in general, but going from an atmosphere, I guess a college life at West Point and going to a place like Virginia where they're known for getting after it a little bit. Was it a little bit of a shock to you, I guess, like with just the overall atmosphere of like being at West Point than going to UVA?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so many rules at West Point, especially your freshman year. It's called the plebe year, and when you're there for your freshman year, I mean, it was also COVID that year. So, I mean, I was pretty much locked down there, wasn't able to do too much, wasn't allowed to leave post much. And then I got to UVA, and I mean, everybody's going out all the time. I mean, there's people drinking outside all the time. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I had never seen that, never witnessed it because at West Point you can't have alcohol on campus or anything like that. So, I mean, it was just a completely different atmosphere.
It seems like you took to it pretty well at Virginia, at least from a baseball perspective. I'm just looking at your numbers from 2023. Did you did they approach you like as far as coaching differently once you got there? Did they work on your mechanics? Did they try to get you throwing harder? Like, what was the difference between West Point and Virginia from a baseball perspective?
Yeah, so when I was at West Point, I was about like 165, 170 pounds. And then after I made that decision to go to UVA, I ended up putting on 30 pounds in a month during the summer before I got to UVA. Um, so I ended up putting on that weight, and then they were honestly pretty shocked when I showed up because I looked like a completely different person. So, so I mean, just went into the fall and they honestly were pretty hands off, like kind of let me do my thing. I mean, obviously there's a lot of like a lot of structure to the way that they run their program and the way that they want things done. But on the pitching side of things, they were pretty hands off and kind of let me, tell them how I went about my work at West Point and if they had any recommendations for me from like a lifting standpoint or a throwing standpoint, and definitely helped. They definitely helped me a lot, just in the weight room as a man in general. And then also Coach Drew, the pitching coach there, helped me a ton with like some pitch grips and also just like mentality and sequencing of pitches.
How did you gain 30 pounds in 1 month? That feels like that feels pretty significant.
Yeah, it definitely was significant. So I went from being in summer training and not eating too much. Like we had MREs, which is like meals that are ready to eat. So like those things aren't great to eat, and it's pretty hard to put down sometimes. So I honestly wasn't eating too much. And then as soon as I got home to mom's cooking and started eating all of that, and then I was drinking like mass gainer protein shakes every night. So that's what ended up doing it. And I was working out with my older brother who was at home at the time, like an hour to 2 hours a day up at the Gold's Gym. So that was fun.
Has it been hard to, I guess, keep the weight on? Because I know that there are some guys, like you see it for other sports, I feel like more than baseball, where a guy will gain a bunch of weight and then it just becomes really hard to maintain that. Has that been the case for you?
Yeah, it definitely was hard to maintain the weight. When I was at UVA, I got up to like 200 pounds, and then I dropped back down to like the 190, 195 range, just so I can move a little bit quicker on the mound. And then ever since I've been in pro ball, I've kind of like put on little bits of weight here and there. It hasn't been anything crazy, but it's definitely very hard for me to keep on weight. I have no problem losing weight. I mean, that's just like I can eat barely anything and be completely fine throughout the day. So eating's like a second job for me pretty much.
I feel like that's the opposite problem that most people have.
Very opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
So take me through draft day for you. Were you were the first guy taken by the Red Sox that was a pitcher. It was the 4th round. Were you expecting to be taken that early? Were you expecting to be drafted at all? Like what was going on going into that?
Yeah, so I think Duffy was our 4th round pick. So he's the
That's
first
right.
pick.
That's right.
Then me the 5th.
That's right. No,
Yeah,
that's
me
right. You were
5th
taken
round.
right after Duffy. That's
Yeah.
right. That was for some reason I thought Duffy was the year before that. Don't mind me, but
Yeah.
continue.
We had I know we had like I think we had 3 picks in that 4th round because of like compensation picks or whatever. So it was a little
Yeah.
But so on draft day, I mean, I watched the whole first day, went to bed, woke up the next day, like I mean, I didn't really know when I was going to get taken. I had talked to my agent a lot, and he was like, "We're looking at anywhere from like the 4th to the 12th round." I'm like, "All right, like, I mean, that's a pretty big range."
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
I was a little bit stressed out about it. And he was like, just keeping me mellow, keeping me calm, take it step by step, and if my name was called, then we figure something out. But I got a call. I think like 20 or so picks before, and my agent was like, "Hey, the Red Sox called and they want you for this amount of money," and I told him no, and I was like, Okay, like, all right, sounds good." He was like, "I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but I know other teams are going to call as well." And I was like, "All right, sounds good." He's like, "All right, I got to go back," and he hangs up, like gets to working, and then he calls me back. He's like, "Red Sox said that they're all in for this set amount, and are you good with that?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." But yeah, it was a crazy experience. I mean, I really hadn't had that experience with anybody else. Like coming from West Point, we didn't have any guys drafted when I was a freshman or a sophomore, so I hadn't really had that experience of like going through that whole process, or like I guess watching anybody go through that process. So it was fairly new to me, and like I reached out to a lot of guys at UVA, and then reached out to some old family friends who had been drafted. So that was my really only understanding of the draft before I was called.
I did also think it was crazy, and I know this is probably it may have gotten old at this point, but obviously a lot was made of like you had a college teammate get picked with Kyle Teel, and it's like, was that like a surprise to you as well? You're just like, holy cow, like I'm going to the same team with the guy I just threw to.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was one of my first calls was to Kyle. I mean, I love that guy to death. I mean, he's a freak back there. I mean, he does everything good. He hits the ball well. I mean, and he's a great guy off the field. So being able to go to the Red Sox with him was super nice. Just knowing that I would know at least one person in the organization when I showed up there. So having Kyle by my side that whole like first couple of months that we were down there before he ended up getting sent off to Greenville and everything like that was super nice.
So I did notice something about your game. I'm switching gears here a little bit, but just kind of like looking at some of your numbers over just your last year, Virginia there, and then your very one game sample size in Salem, and then obviously Greenville, Portland. But you've always had high strikeout numbers. I feel like your K per 9 is always up there. It's always at 10.5 or better, which is fantastic. So has that always been a part of your game? A lot of like bat missing ability. Is that like something you kind of pride yourself on as a pitcher?
I never really thought of it like that. Like I honestly in college, like I was just pitching to win. I wasn't too worried about like strikeouts or anything like that. Like I was just going out there trying to compete as much as I could. But I mean, in college, I think I had a decent amount of punch outs. And I know, like, I didn't really realize it at the time then, but once I got to the Red Sox organization and started talking to some of the coaches, is they just said like I released the ball from like a little weird of a height, like it's a little lower than what my projected frame should usually release the ball from. So I think that helped me out a lot. Just being able to get punch outs before getting to the Red Sox organization.
Ed, I also was gonna ask something. So obviously, I'll let you go after this, but so it was a smaller sample size once you got to Portland this year, but your numbers like weren't really as far off from what you did in High A. It seemed like you didn't really skip much of a beat once going up to better competition in Double A. What was that like for you? I guess just getting promoted first of all, like to Double A, and then second of all, just kind of like okay, you're facing even better hitters in the new level. So what kind of adjustments did you have to make, and I guess what was the mindset like?
Yeah, so in Greenville, I knew a lot of the players that were around me, either from the draft class of mine or just being down in Fort Myers during the fall. I had known some of the guys from that, and then having all the whole time from the start of the season all the way until All-Star break, I got pretty comfortable with everybody there and all the coaching staff. Like we love to have a good time and still get after our work, but we got pretty close. And then I get called into Coach Iggy's office and tells me I'm going to Portland. I'm like, all right, like let's do it, I guess. I mean, like let's go. And I was going up with Sandlin at the time, which was nice to have somebody to make that 11-hour ride to Somerset for the road series pretty nice. So having him for that whole trip was nice, and then obviously showing up there and Drew Earhart being there because I had him as my bullpen catcher all in Greenville for most of the time was really nice as well. But I mean, honestly, the biggest adjustment was I just hadn't really been in like spring training groups with those Double A guys. And I mean, I I just didn't know too many of the guys on the team. So that was definitely the biggest adjustment. And then after that, I mean, it's the same game of baseball. The hitters might have a better approach or a hitter might have a little bit more power or something like that, but I'm still throwing my game. Like I'm sticking to my strengths. So it doesn't really affect me who's in the box.
So, looking at your Sox prospects profile, just for your arsenal of pitches, they have it listed: fastball, cutter, curveball, changeup. Is that correct?
So I throw fastball, changeup, curveball, and then a sweeper. And like the cutter is kind of like it's like in between a cutter and a gyro slider. So it's not hard enough to be a cutter yet. So it's more of a gyro slider, I would say.
Now they list your changeup as your best secondary pitch. Did you have you thrown that your changeup for a while, and what makes it such an effective pitch?
Yeah, so my changeup I actually picked up during spring training. I had a changeup at UVA that was pretty solid, but it was only really good because of like I was still able to keep the same arm speed as my fastball. But metrically it was honestly kind of like a mess. So when I showed up to spring training, like they were like, "All right, let's fix your changeup," and I was like, "Okay." Like I thought that was one of my better pitches here. Like, are we sure that we want to work on that? And I mean, I was hammering it like every single bullpen that I had in spring training. I was throwing it, and then as soon as I would get into a live outing, it'd be like, "All right, you need to throw your changeup a lot so we can get a sample size and then figure out if we need to make a grip adjustment or something like that." But I mean, after I got the hang of it about like a month into the season, I would say it definitely turned into my best pitch for sure.
And I feel like you mentioned that you throw a sweeper now. I feel like every single guy we talk to in the organization is throwing a sweeper. And I
100%.
know that I feel like the organization probably has a little bit of emphasis on like, hey, we would love all of our pitchers to have this in their tool belt. So I'm assuming that's a newer pitch for you. How has that been, I guess, adapting the sweeper?
Yeah, so I didn't start throwing the sweeper until I started throwing bullpens with it at the very end of the time that I was in Greenville. And then I kept working on it in Portland, and it definitely made a lot of progress. At first, I couldn't get the shape at all. It was either like a curveball or a gyro slider. Like I just couldn't find anything in between. Um, and then I just kept changing grips, and started to get the numbers in bullpens, but it wasn't anywhere near the zone. So I was like, all right. They're like, take it out into the game every once in a while. And then I would only have like two lefties in the lineup because they only wanted me to try and throw it to lefties, um, because that's what they want me to use it for. So I was starting to throw it, and the shape would be good, and it wouldn't be a good result. Like it would be way out of the zone, or I hit somebody with it, and then I would throw a bad one, and it would be in the middle of the zone. So it was very hard to, I guess, on the mound, like be able to tell which one was actually good. So that's kind of like my main focus this off season, and I've been working a lot on it in catch play with Isaac Coffey. He's been trying to help me with minor grip changes or moving the ball up or down, feeling pressure certain places. So that's been a fun time during this off season.
Yeah, that's Isaac Coffey is another guy that
Yeah,
has been throwing up incredible swing and miss stuff, and it's like, and he does
100%.
it without the velocity too. So
Yeah.
watching him pitch is actually a very fun experience for me, just because he's not a guy that's going out there throwing 100. Like David Sandlin's fun to watch in his own way because that's what he does. But watching Coffey do what he does with his arsenal, man, it's incredible to see.
It is.
I have I was actually messaging. I was texting with one of your teammates this past year, and he was kind of asking me like who I've talked to, who I got on. His name's Blaze Jordan, and I told him I had you coming on, and he said, there's something about Connelly that I noticed this year. I'm just like, okay, like let's hear it. Cause he's like, well, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him because you were in Greenville for most of the time and came up, but he said Connelly is a completely different person the day he pitches. And he said, I love that about him. Like he is a goofy dude when it's not a start day. He is like laid back. He is chilling. But on his start day, the guy is a different person. And he says that in a completely good way because he said, I love that about him. Would you say
Yeah.
that's accurate?
I would say it's pretty accurate. I mean, leading up to the game on my start day, I like to keep it pretty easy. Like I like joking around, like playing cards, doing whatever, just staying loose and relaxed. And then once I get on the field, like in that bullpen, or I mean, even pregame, like in the training room, like I kind of like to lock in then, and like I mean, my only goal was to go out there and compete and, shove and be able to put my offense in the best position. So I do love to have a good time. I mean, at the field, you're at the field for, 10 hours a day. So if all you're going to do at the field is, throw and then sit and look at your phone or whatever, like you're not having any fun with it. So you got to be able to goof off, play some soccer, play cards, do whatever. I mean, you got to keep it a good time.
All right. I want to ask you about a few off the field things here because
We doing the lightning round?
yeah, I think we are. I think we're gonna dip into it. It's about that time. So Connelly, you got a good set of roommates there. I know right now, and I'm assuming probably during the season as well. You probably lived with some good guys. But what do you do in your free time?
Free time, it depends where I'm at. If I'm at home, most of the time I'm hanging out with my family. Like, I don't get too much time with them outside. Like in the season, they can travel up and see me every once in a while, but they always have my brother to take care of, or all three of my brothers to take care of. So if I'm at home, I'm usually either at the facility working out, throwing with my family, or fishing. Honestly, that's about it. But when I'm down here in Fort Myers, a lot of the time playing video games with the guys, going golfing, going out to eat. Whatever, honestly. There's nothing that you can, like, if somebody asked me to do something, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's go to the beach. All right, sure. You want to go putt? Sure. I'm willing to fill my time with anything, honestly, down here.
I heard from we did have Matt Duffy on the show, and he may have spilled the beans that you playing Call of Duty is a interesting sight to listen to and to watch, because he said that you get the loudest in the house. Is that also?
I do. Yeah, I do get pretty loud. I get frustrated playing video games for sure. I'm not too great, so you got to make up for it by being funny, I guess. So
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Do you listen to any music? Do you listen to, is there any kind of music you like in particular?
I can listen to anything. So my dad grew up on rock music. My mom loves pop music. I liked rap a lot during high school. I like country music. So, I can really listen to anything. I listen to some reggae here and there. So, you could give me any genre and I'd be willing to try out a song, listen to it, and probably put in my playlist or put in my like songs.
When you've got to start, do you have walkout music?
So I did have a song in Greenville, but it only got played like 3 times. So
what was the song?
It was "Lady, Hear Me Tonight." I don't know if you ever heard it. It's like an EDM song. But me and Kyle would listen to that a lot at UVA. So I don't know. I just kind of stuck with it.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, DJ.
That was what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Didn't know how much of his playlist ended up on your playlist. Like, all right, Kyle's doing it big over there.
So I was actually last offseason I was trying to get into DJing with Kyle. I'm definitely not as musically talented as Kyle. So it was definitely a struggle for me, but I have like the controller and everything, got the speakers, trying to mix a couple songs with him here and there. So we share a playlist of like EDM or like bar music, I guess, on SoundCloud. So, I'll listen to those whenever. If I'm in a long car ride, I'll pull up that for a little while and listen to it. So just something different to listen to.
So obviously we know it's his is DJ Bass Monkey. What is yours?
I don't have one. I'm not good enough to have a name yet. Yeah, Kyle, that's kind of Kyle's thing. So I let him have it.
That's fair. I'll never forget. Once Kyle got up to Worcester, and Richard Fitz is just hanging out, and he's just like, yeah, he's like, Kyle, is his roommate once they got up to Worcester, and he's like, yeah, he moved in the DJ stuff. It's incredible. It's like just Richard Fitz over there, just him and his wife, just nice, quiet people, and I can just picture them being like, oh, like Kyle's got all his DJ stuff and he's just over there trying to go to town. And I don't know, it was just a funny sight, but that's crazy though. You were trying to get into that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
So other than like playing some Call of Duty recently, and obviously I'm not good at it either, so I totally feel the pain on that. But I heard that you're a decent golfer. Would you say that your game stacks up pretty well against some of your roommates?
No, not really. I mean, I'm really not a great golfer. I don't know who you heard that from.
Okay, maybe I just heard that you go a lot.
I do go a decent amount.
Okay.
I mean, if the guys are going to go golfing, I'm going to go for sure.
Okay.
I like being out on the course. But I'm just very inconsistent. Like I'll hit a perfect shot, and then right after that, I'll find the water immediately or find a bunker immediately. So, I'm really not great out on the course, but every once in a while, it'll look like I play really well for about a hole or two, and then I'll start falling apart. So.
That's
but yeah,
fair.
I mean, Duffy and Blake and Noah and Mullins are all much more ahead of me in the golf area.
So what was your team? Yeah, what was your team growing up, and who was your favorite player?
So it was the Cincinnati Reds. I didn't really have a too big of a reason to like them. But Joey Votto was one of my favorite players. So that's kind of like why I stuck with the Reds. And then I like Johnny Cueto a ton. And obviously growing up, it was like prime time. Aroldis Chapman rookie year, throwing like 104, 105. So that was always crazy to watch.
Have you been to Great American Ballpark?
I've not. So that's definitely on the list.
It is a lovely, lovely stadium. I cannot say as many. I can't even give it justice. That and the one in Pittsburgh is supposed to be really good too. But that might be my favorite ballpark that I've ever been to. Actually,
yeah, I've been to PNC for the Pirates, which was really nice. I'd probably say that's probably up there for best stadium I've been to. Obviously, I love Fenway as well, but. I mean,
I live 15 minutes away from it. I'm jaded.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your favorite? Oh, sorry.
I like the Cubs stadium as well. Like I went to Wrigley because my dad's a big Cubs fan. So we went there when I was, I think, like 10 or 11 years old, and that was a good time.
What's your favorite stadium that you've ever played in?
I've ever played in? I mean, are we talking college or are we talking?
Yeah, college counts.
Okay.
Whatever. It's like just your favorite place.
Actually, do one of each. Do college and do pro.
Pro ball, it's definitely Greenville. I mean, Greenville is one of the nicest facilities you can play at. I mean, the field crew there is crazy good. I think they just won like best grounds crew or whatever for the year for like the 7th time in the past, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. So that's a great place to be, and they get good fans. Clemson's pretty close, so students will come out from there, and just overall, like the Greenville city is growing, and it's a great area to be. But for college, I'm biased and would say UVA for sure. But I did when I was at West Point, I played in the Southern Miss Regional, and I mean, the atmosphere there was electric. So I would say that that's definitely up there as well.
All right. I like to joke, and Ed knows this, but I do think that this podcast is a part food podcast. I try to turn it into.
It's not a joke. It's part food.
All right, there we go. And I feel like everybody likes food. So I do want to ask you though. One, was that the first time that you had ever been in Maine once you got up to AA?
So I had been up to Maine before when I was younger to go to Acadia. So I went there once with my family. Yeah. So that was I guess second time really being up in Maine.
What'd you think about the food scene?
So this is going to be tough for you guys to hear, but I'm not a seafood guy. So yeah, it is pretty rough. Like everybody always gives me crap about it. But the first time I was in Maine, was pretty much the last time I like really had seafood. I had lobster and couldn't get it down.
Never needed it again.
So yeah,
Wow.
I haven't been going back to it. So, yeah,
You
definitely
couldn't put a
not.
lobster roll down?
No, I couldn't. Yeah,
Did you
not
try
my.
it both ways? Did you do it warm or cold?
I did the warm one.
Okay.
So
Have you ever had
ever
a
ever
cold?
since then, I haven't had it cold, and I don't think
Okay,
I'm
that's
planning on
fair.
ever having it cold.
I
But
get it. Actually, I get
yeah,
it. I didn't. I mean, I didn't. I'll eat lobster now, but it's like my wife is really into lobster. Like she has
yeah,
like a tattoo of a lobster on her. That's how into it she is. Um, but I didn't really eat lobster till I was in my mid-20s, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite thing. There's like that part of me in the back of my head. It's like I'm eating a giant water bug, and that like I can't get that out of my head when I'm
yeah.
eating it a lot of the time. So I get where you're coming from on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just anything seafood related, like the smell, the appearance of it, just turns me or rubs me the wrong way, honestly. So I don't know. It's
What,
just never been something that I've really been into.
what kind of food do you like then? Like, what would be your top? Like, if you were going out for dinner, like, what would be your top spot?
If I'm going out for dinner, I mean, steak's hard to beat. Fettuccine Alfredo is hard to
Oh,
beat.
yeah, there we go.
Um, I mean, anything like that. I like Chinese food a lot. Like Panda Express is pretty good
Oh, you're
if
one
I'm
of the
trying to
Panda
put on some
Express guys?
calories. I am. It's a big debate in the house because me and like a couple I think We Hunt hates Panda Express. Like he had food poisoning there one time or
Oh,
something,
that'll
so
do it.
he can't
Yeah.
stand it. But like me and Duffy will go there all the time to get Panda Express, and he's like, "Dude, I can't believe you guys eat that. Like, it's just not good." And we're like, "I mean, it's pretty damn good."
Panda Express is one of my, it's probably my second favorite fast food chain. It's
Behind
definitely
what?
up
The Chick-fil-A first?
Well,
there.
we're
All
gonna
right.
get to that. We're gonna
This
get
is a
to
Okay,
good
okay,
that.
okay.
this
This
is a
is a
good
good segue.
segue into the important question of the episode. So we have an unofficial sponsor of this show. I hope Duffy didn't ruin this or
Oh,
Blake. Okay, good. We're good. So we have an unofficial sponsor of this show.
It's a secret sponsorship. They don't even know about it.
Yeah,
okay,
it's
fair.
near and dear to my heart, and I have asked this question to literally everybody for the last year that we've done this show. So, you're hungry and you want some lunch, and you want some fast food fried chicken today, and every single option is available of your to choose from. Every single place. Where are you going?
Either, I mean, Canes or Bojangles. It's one of the two.
Oh man, Bojangles is good. I actually will agree with that. But
Can't put them
Are
down
you
for two in our
Zaxby's?
tracker. You need
can
to
I
pick
interest you
one.
in? Yeah, you do. You need to pick one.
I'm
Which one would
tracking
you
them
pick?
this year.
I'll go Bojangles.
All right,
Okay.
Bojangles to the list.
Can I interest you in Zaxby's?
I'll eat Zaxby's. For
Okay.
sure. I mean, there's no problem with Zaxby's, but I would take the other options over Zaxby's for sure.
It's tough, man. Blake Wehunt is a Georgia guy. I know he would choose Zaxby's, but those Georgia guys, man, they love their self some Zaxby's. But
Yeah, I mean, we've had it a couple times while we've been down here, but I mean, it's nothing crazy to me, I
all
guess.
right, well, I got a follow up question for you then, because Matt Duffy's answer to this question was outrageous. So I need your opinion on this.
All right.
So you got 3 of your fingers, right? You're gonna fill those 3 fingers with 3 sauces, and those are the only sauces you can have for the rest of your life. What 3 sauces are you choosing?
Um, Jeez. I mean, I'm a big mustard guy, so I guess I'm putting mustard on one of them.
Whoa.
I'm a big mustard guy. Like burgers, hot dogs, anything. I'm putting mustard with. Trying to think about the most like yum yum sauce would be up there. I feel like.
I think that's what didn't Bates say yum yum sauce, or did he say something else?
I don't know. We've had a couple yum yum sauces.
Yeah.
That's a popular
Man,
one.
I'm trying to think of a third. Hmm. I mean, I guess I'm going ketchup. I mean, I guess
Are,
I feel like that's basic with ketchup and mustard on there, but I feel like it goes with a lot, so you can't
I
really
feel
go
like
wrong.
I feel like I should start asking the question. It doesn't seem like you're a big sauce guy. It doesn't seem like
I'm not a
a lot of people are
crazy sauce
passionate.
like. No, I'm not too passionate. Like, I mean, I'll eat a ton of sauces, so I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't really matter the sauce. I'm probably gonna eat it with whatever I'm eating food
Okay.
with.
Well,
Were
what's your
you?
go-to at Panda Express? Like, what's your go-to there? Because I feel like there's a
This
lot of
is
sauce
important.
there.
Yeah, so at Panda Express, I'm going plate with fried rice, orange chicken, and Kung Pao chicken.
Oh,
And
okay.
then
Solid choice.
I'll probably get the side of the cream cheese rangoons.
Oh, those are
So
good.
Okay.
yeah, that'd probably be my go-to order.
I don't think my stomach produces the enzymes necessary to digest those anymore, but they're really good. Like, they're
Yeah,
really
they are
good.
good. They are good.
Were you part of the crew, by the way? I heard this floating around. I don't know if it was the Portland pitching staff or if it was Greenville, but you were part of both of them this year. But was there a thing going around where you did the finger thing, but it was with liquids?
No, I was
What?
not part of that. No.
Okay, because
Wait, what?
I was just told that like the Portland, either the bullpen or some, I think Zach Bryant maybe told me this, that the Portland bullpen, there's a lot, I guess you're not in the bullpen, I guess, throughout the week,
Yeah.
but that they did a thing where it's like you had to pick like drinks to in your fingers. That was like their version. So I didn't want to steal that from them. That's why I do sauces, but like I feel like drinks is just as interesting because you got to pick like
Yeah, the drinks
drinks
is
to live
good.
on.
Yeah.
Okay, I might switch that up. I don't know. All right, Ed, we're wrapping this thing up soon. What do you got to empty the tank?
To empty the tank. The question that I always ask people when we're running out of time: do you have any pets?
So my family doesn't have any pets. But my parents do puppy raising for Canine Companions for Independence.
Oh,
So
wow.
they raise puppies from when they're like 2 months old until they're 24 months old, so 2 years old. So I think we've done like 5 or 6 of those, and my parents are like co-parenting a puppy right now.
Oh,
So
wow. I really struggle with that. See, I didn't have pets until I was in my mid-20s. Like, my parents were not a dog family, but
yeah,
I wouldn't know what to do without one at this point. But I can't
yeah,
imagine, like, you're with it and you see it grow up and everything, and then you have to let it go. I'd be terrible at that.
yeah.
Somebody like
Yeah.
somebody far stronger than me needs to be raising them so they're not like pissing on people's carpets and stuff. So that's your family is doing God's work with that.
Yes, they are for sure. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
a good time. I mean, having the puppies at that age is definitely a hassle to deal with. Like my parents parents don't get too much sleep for like those first 2 weeks that we have them. But after that, it's I mean a great time having them, and you know that it's going to a good cause at least. So it's not as upsetting when you have to give the puppy away.
That's true. That's true. It's not like you're just like dumping them on the side of the road
Yeah.
or something. They're getting a good home. So that's
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
All right, Connolly. I got one last question for you, and we'll end it on this one.
Mhm.
What's in store for the rest of the off season? Like what kind of things are you up to? Like do you have any trips planned? Anything like that?
Yeah, so after this is over, I think I'm stopping in South Carolina to see my brother who's in the Air Force. Um, and then after that, might stop at Weehunt's house for a few days. Usually I try and break up the drive and stop at his house and go fishing or something like that.
There we go.
But for the off season, Thanksgiving I'll be home with the family. Cousins will come hang out, so that'll be a good time. And then early December, I'll be at the Army Navy football game with a couple of my buddies who graduated from there and guys who are still on the team. And after that, it's just Christmas, New Year's, and then back here. So
I'll tell you what, man,
nothing too
that
crazy.
I got a lot of follow-ups real quick before we let you off. One, Army Navy, incredible experience
Yes,
going to
it
that
is.
game. It was at Foxborough. What year? Last year? Year before?
Last year, yeah. Yeah, I was up there
Yeah.
for the Foxborough game. Yeah, it was sweet.
Oh, incredible experience.
Yeah.
And then two, I can you run something by Mr. Keith Wehunt when you go to their house?
Yes.
Can you possibly ask him if he's ever interested in just like the Wehunt chicken farm shirts like need to be a thing? He's got to
Yeah.
start distributing those.
Yeah, I think there's a big order coming to
Okay,
distribute.
that's what I'm
Blake,
talking about.
Blake's working on it. So I'll
There we
get on
go.
him about it. I'll get on him about it and figure it out.
Awesome. And then are you gonna I don't know. I remember telling him, I'm like, dude, like people would be interested in this. I don't think you understand. Like
Yeah.
not even just your teammates, even like fans of like the minor leagues would be interested in it. I would be
Yeah.
interested in it. But so yeah, make sure you run that by him. Make sure that he's sticking to that. That's all I gotta ask.
Will do.
Awesome. All right. Well, Connelly, we appreciate all the time of you hopping on, and we're looking forward to seeing you once spring training rolls around and whatever's in store for you in 2025. But thank you so much for hopping on.
Yep. Thank you all.